you guys, and welcome back to A Better You. I am your host, Fernanda Ramirez, and I am so excited to have you back. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about a topic that I have been wanting to cover for a very long time, and that is going to be on how to embody sexiness. This might be a little bit more of a taboo episode, but it is something that I feel very passionate about, or I just feel very excited to talk about. I feel like it is a theme that my friends and I cover all the time, and something that we have no shame in, and something that is very openly discussed between my friends. And so it's a little bit of a hyperfixation theme, you might even say. It's definitely not something that I've talked about on the podcast as much, or even on my socials in general. But when I mentioned it in my 2026 Ins and Outs episode, I know a lot of you guys mentioned that you wanted a full episode on this topic, and it definitely caught your attention. So I'm so excited that you guys actually were like, wait, no, we want to hear about that, because girl, I can deliver. That's what I'm going to say right now. I even brought some of my journals out so that when we are talking about this topic, I can reference my notes, my past journaling, and my own reflections, because this is something that I journal a lot about, and I'll give you guys the backstory as to why that is and all of that kind of stuff, as well as there's a few other connections as to why I want to talk about this topic in today's episode. But before we get started, I just want to say, how are you guys doing? I hope you are doing well. I hope you are having a good day. I'm currently filming this episode again in my car, which if you are just a listener, you would not see that, but if you are a watcher of the YouTube channel, you would see that right now. I've actually had a really great time filming in my car these past few episodes, or I guess just this is my second episode. I feel like filming in the car, I get my juices flowing, I feel in flow state, and I just feel so comfortable in here. So honestly, I'm loving it. It is almost Valentine's Day as well while I'm filming this episode, so I feel like this episode kind of is perfect pre-V-Day, whether you are trying to be sexy for yourself, with a partner, with your friends, or it's just something that you want to embody. Anyways, without further ado, let's jump into this episode. Make sure that you have subscribed to the YouTube channel, you follow A Better You on Instagram and TikTok, you've given this podcast a thumbs up, you leave a comment on the YouTube and the Spotify, and you do not forget to rate it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Now let's begin on how to embody sexiness / emit a sexy aura and feel sexier for yourself. I want to say I also saw a while ago, there was a creator called 𝘈 on TikTok, and she made a series called Being Sexier for Yourself, and she also kind of inspires me because I like that she brought this idea onto TikTok and made it a little bit more mainstream. I feel like sexiness is something that can sometimes be shamed, especially in women. And actually, I want to say, before we get into the actual episode, my friend 𝘈, she actually just started her snail mail company. And if you're unfamiliar with what snail mail is, it is basically a monthly mailing subscription where she creates her art and she makes a written piece, and she does little stickers and stuff, and every month you get different little pieces of art and cute little things based off of the theme of that month. Hopefully that made sense. And I actually opened my letter this morning, and her theme for this month, knowing that it is Valentine's Day, is love, sex, and flirting. And I was so excited for this letter to come out. She's been talking about it for a while, and like I said, this is a theme that me and my friends often discuss. So when reading her letter, I was like, okay, we've talked about all these things in person, but I love when someone actually has it ready for somebody else to be consumed, it's the final copy. And reading it also inspired me to film this episode today. She even had a little art print into this mail, and it's some lingerie and some heels and a little magazine on a clothes rack, and she has some stickers and a monthly playlist. Anyways, this is a side plug, but if you guys are interested in a little mailing thing like this, obviously not sponsored, just my friend, and I think it's super cute. Her brand is called Mail by May. Search it up on TikTok, on Instagram. She has a website. You guys can order for next month's issue. Anyways, the reason why I brought this up was because one of the topics she talks about in her letter is about why she advocates for being a little bit provocative. I'll quote a little bit of what she said in here, but she wrote that maybe provocativity often encourages uncomfortability, but that doesn't mean that that emotion is entirely bad. She says uncomfortability comes from experiencing something new, and the experience could just be a new perspective that challenges your previously existing grasp on reality. She mentions how even though her letter is a little bit provocative, that level will be felt differently depending on each person and their ideas surrounding such content. And rather instead, she wants us to reframe some of these ways that we view these topics, taking away the shame and judgment that was forced onto us before we even had time to make our own opinions. Because as we know, sometimes when we judge topics for being provocative or promiscuous, it is just a projection of our upbringing or of our internal beliefs. It doesn't actually mean that that idea or that person or the way that that person's acting, that idea, whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean that the way that someone is acting or how they present their ideas or what they talk about is actually inherently bad. It's just you might have some walls built up when those themes come up. But anyways, I wanted to kind of mention that as I talk about this episode today, because as I was saying, I feel like talking about sexiness sometimes is looked upon in a bad way or can seem shameful. But in reality, I feel like we are at a point in time where we're kind of dismantling those beliefs and we're kind of having a neutral feeling towards these topics. They don't have to be good or bad. We don't have to shame them. We don't have to think about them a certain way. It's just like it is what it is. It's a part of life and it's something that we all want to feel whether we say it or not. And it's probably something that, underneath the surface, we're all trying to embody. And I think that the more that we can talk about it and make it less taboo, it'll just be more normalized and something that is encouraged in a healthy way and in a safe way. And of course, today we're not talking about anything too provocative. There's a little bit of a backstory as to kind of the energy that I'm approaching this topic with and that I hope you take away this episode with. So there you go. We've laid down some ground rules. We are eliminating shame, eliminating any stigma or any awkwardness around the topic, and we are ready to dive in on what sexy means to me and how we can embody it a little bit more and why it's important, honestly. Now, let me tell you how this all came about and why this interest even sparked in me. It all came about last January. I don't remember if I was reading a Substack article or I was just following a new account on Instagram. I don't remember what it was, but I remember seeing this post about this girl saying that being erotic means being alive. That really stuck with me because I was like, what does that even mean? Because like when I think of erotic, I think like sexy, I think promiscuous, whatever. But the way that this woman described the term eroticism, described it as the feeling of being alive, being in your senses. So then that made me start thinking about the term sexy. And I was like, it's always fun to be sexy. At this time, I was like really single and I was like, I want to be in my sexy era and just like feel hot and feel good and not for anybody else, but just to feel sexy myself. And so I had these ideas of like, okay, wanting to be and feel sexy. And then this term eroticism that in this definition was said to mean the feeling of aliveness and then just overall aliveness, okay? These were the three words that were very much in my mind last year. So to kind of round those all together and connect them all, a synonym of sexy is erotic, and erotic means being alive. And when you feel alive, you feel sexy. So that's kind of like the little like system I've got in my head going. Like when I feel sexy, I feel alive. When you're erotic, you feel alive. When I'm alive, I feel sexy. So having in my mind that those words are all the same, we can kind of work backwards and be like, well, what makes us feel alive? Because the things that makes us feel the most alive would in turn be kind of erotic and in turn make us feel really sexy. I hope this is making sense, but I feel like this really made sense in my mind last year when I was kind of reading a lot about this. And I was reading a book also on the art of loving, and it was talking about erotic love. And all of these words for some reason just really stuck with me. I was like, I like the way this is flowing. I like that this is all leading back to aliveness. And also, if anyone remembers or they're a podcast listener, you know that that's why in the summer we were really focusing on Alive Girl Summer and just all the things that makes us feel the most alive, because in turn that makes us feel magnetic, that makes us move through the world differently, and that makes us feel and look and just embody sexiness. Also in this podcast episode, we'll talk about sensuality, which I think goes hand in hand with aliveness, with eroticism, with sexiness, whatever. But that is definitely something I want to touch on as well, because that is another aspect of sexiness that I think wraps everything together. Looking through my journal, I had some reflections on what sexy means to me, and I had wrote down that feeling sexy means feeling connected with myself, to be present, to indulge in my senses, and to feel fluid, free, creative, and open. I had copied down a quote that said, sexiness is about feeling flush with life, love, and joy. When you feel truly sexy, you feel alive and delicious in your body. Crazy statement, but you are here in the present moment, enjoying your body and relishing in your senses. It is not a performance for anyone else, it is an experience for you. When you feel sexy, you are sensual, and when you are sensual, you can experience life through your body and senses rather than your mind. Not only that, but sexiness is embodied power. I don't know about you guys, but when I feel sexy and I feel good, and we'll talk about some of the ways that I kind of make myself feel this way, but when I have this feeling, I feel like I can take on the world. I feel like I could go from place to place to place, feeling confident, feeling like I want to be seen, feeling like I can do whatever I want, and that is embodied power. And I think that's something that I really want to talk about in this episode, and that's why I keep emphasizing the word embodiment, because I think sometimes when we think about sexiness, we might see like on TV, like, oh, wearing this push-up bra makes you look sexy, but then you wear it and you're just like, this doesn't really quite feel like me. Or maybe someone online tells you like, if you wear these really cropped shirts, that is what sexiness is. And then you do it and you're like, I'm just not feeling myself. I think that it's important to note that whatever makes you feel sexy, maybe that's wearing like a silk blouse that like feels really nice on your skin and like that makes you feel sexy, that is when you're going to have that embodied sexiness come out. And in turn, that will be that embodied power. We want it to feel true to ourselves. We don't want to copy anyone else and like just do what makes them feel sexy because it might not be embodied in ourselves. And I guess also I want this episode to just kind of be food for thought for thinking about like, what is it that makes me feel sexy for myself, that makes me feel sexy from within, that makes me feel connected to myself. And not only focusing on that, but like reminding yourself of that whenever you feel a little bit lost in this sexiness journey so that you can return to that and return to yourself and like know that when you are acting out of your own truest like desires or just doing the things that you like, it will come across as embodied. This is a little bit of a side note, but one of the other things that I connected kind of sexiness to is that when you feel sexy, if you are into the spiritual stuff, I think it is your sacral chakra that is being activated, and that is where your life force energy comes from. That life force energy is creative energy. It is what you make life with, and especially for us women, we need to kind of remind ourselves to keep our sacral chakra open because not only is it for creation purposes, but it is also for like your creative powers. Whenever I feel the most creative in any form, whether that is like art or a podcast or filming or even like I'm writing and I like the way the words are flowing, it's usually when I feel that connection to myself. And I kind of have that like mind-body connection of like, you know, when I feel good, when I feel embodied, I like envision my sacral chakra being open. I feel like I don't have any blockages there. I'm feeling like my truest desires are being allowed to flow. I don't know. I feel like I have such a connection to this, but sometimes it's like hard to articulate. But I just feel like whenever I'm acting out of that place of like sexiness with no shame and with freedom and with openness, everything just seems to make sense. Like I feel good, therefore I act confidently, therefore I feel open, therefore I'm more excited, I'm more creative, my life force is turned on, and I just feel turned on by life, really. So anyways, I hope all of those ideas connected, and hopefully it doesn't sound just like what is she saying, but I feel like if you're following, you kind of understand what I'm saying. I guess to wrap that up, I want to say that when you allow yourself to feel sexy, and not just sexiness that you copy from someone else, but your own truest embodied sexiness, you will feel more in tune with yourself, more open, more flowing, and your life force energy will be high and vibrant, and that will come across in everything that you do, whether that is your creative practices or it's even in the way that you create your life, because life is a creative act, or in the way that you socialize with other people, the way you move through the world, the way that you feel about yourself and others, even your aura. It will just feel expanding and so powerful because all of these themes are connected to your life force. And as women, that is how we reclaim our power and we don't let it be taken advantage of or let someone else write the rules for like what sexiness should look like or what it should be like, or I don't know, should be shunned. I feel like it's not something that we should be ashamed of or like even have taboo thoughts around it. And since we're talking about sexiness, I want to say that I feel like sometimes men in particular, maybe it's a little boyfriend, maybe it's somebody else, I don't know whoever this man might be to you. Sometimes it's literally just like the patriarchy. They want to shame you for feeling sexy or for wanting to feel sexier for yourself, or it gives you some sort of a bad look when in reality they just don't want to see you in your power. And sometimes people benefit from keeping you small and keeping you shy and insecure and closed off. But if all of us women rose and felt empowered to be free and to be sexy and to feel, honestly, I feel like the most feminine that we can, because creative energy, life force energy is extremely inherently feminine. I feel like we would all just be like glowing from within all the time and radiating, and people basically wouldn't be able to tell us shit. Does that all make sense? I don't know. I feel kind of passionate about this, but sometimes when I'm explaining it, I'm like, I hope this is making sense. I also think a reason for why I find all of these topics so interesting, or why I kind of have an emphasis on these topics, is because my life is kind of led by my own creativity. And as somebody who leads with their creativity and is quite spiritual, I feel like I understand the connection between creativity and life force energy. And in order to keep that chakra open, you have to remove shame and any restrictions and any kind of just feelings of being pushed down. So as many ways as you can keep yourself open and like feel in your body and feel good and feel creative and feel alive and feel empowered and feel safe to do so and like feel into your sexiness, the more that I can allow this creativity to flow through me and therefore ooze into my content and create content. That is why that is so important to me. And I think it all ties back into sexiness. And I think when you are living and embodying these types of principles, or just kind of like ideas and philosophies, I think your aura is expanding as you do so. Like, not only am I saying that I want to be sexy but not practicing any of the principles of it, but like feeling sexiness is like actually an embodied practice, and therefore when I'm walking around I feel really good, and then other people can feel it and they can feel magnetized by that. When I think about the people in my life who give off this sexy vibe, whose aura is expanding, who is magnetic, who attract people of any gender, whether it's a man or a woman or literally anybody, when they have this kind of aura around them, they just attract people. It doesn't even need to be in a sexual way. It doesn't need to be in a romantic way. I think people can feel that off of you. And I just think that if you know that you kind of have control over this, why would we not want to take that to our advantage and kind of work on our aura and work on this connection to ourselves, because it will make everything so much better. It will make your quality of life better. It will make your creativity better. It will probably make your friendships better, your romantic relationships better. We are more likely to get more opportunities, to be treated the way we want to. I'll just throw this in here, but like to manifest the life that we want, to go after our dreams, to move through this world like somebody who knows who they are and who feels very proud and confident in who that is. I just feel like there is no harm in wanting to work on your magnetism and just work on your connection to yourself. I just feel like it all goes hand in hand. I also want to say that one of the things I really feel strongly about is that, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, sexiness is not just wearing a push-up bra and calling it a day, or wearing a low-cut top and calling it a day, or wearing a crop top. It is an energy, it is a frequency, and I think a lot of the times it is confidence. When you feel this good about yourself and you feel free and not restricted, this confidence is radiating outwards, and it's obvious to the people around you, even if you are not actively trying to do something. Like, you might not be trying to be sexy, but just the way that you are is sexy, is attractive, is magnetic. Having that said, one of the first ways that I wrote down on how I like to practice embodying sexiness is working on my confidence and my self-trust. I feel very confident and in turn sexy when I do what I say, when the proof is in the pudding and I put in the work and I have self-trust. I feel very confident when I'm consistent with my work, when my work speaks for itself. I feel very confident when I'm proud of what I'm putting out. I like what I'm putting out, and I feel like it is something unique to me that no one else can replicate. I feel confident in myself when I take care of myself and I know how much effort I'm putting in behind the scenes, and then I get to move through the world in this vessel that I take so much care of. I feel very confident in myself when I practice even making podcast episodes like this, and I work on my speech and I work on my articulation, and then I have to express my opinion or my thoughts to somebody else, and I like the way that I think and the opinions that I have. All of that makes me feel confident, and in turn allows me to ooze this sexy aura. I also think it is important to practice confidence and self-trust in your own intuition and even your own taste. For example, if I want to wear something someday that is not necessarily trending, nobody told me to wear it, but I really want to wear it, and my intuition is saying, girl, you want to wear that thing with pride and with conviction, and be like, I like this, so I'm going to wear it. Nobody needs to tell me that it looks good. If I like it, I'm going to wear it, and that is confidence. That is sexy. I think this is also a quality that is liked upon like across the board. Everybody likes when somebody has strong decision-making skills and they have good trust in themselves. I especially like when another doesn't need the approval of others to do something or to wear something. When they pick something because they feel like it and they don't care what anybody thinks, that is sexy. Another reason why I think it is so magnetic to own your own decisions and have a immense amount of self-trust and your own decisions is that other people will feel like you really know what you're talking about and that you really know yourself. Practice not second-guessing yourself and following your intuition, whatever that is, when it first comes up. Anyways, we are moving on. The next way that I practice sexiness or feeling sexy and feeling embodied is by actually doing embodiment practices. Embodiment practices are techniques that connect the mind and body to enhance self-awareness, emotional regulation, and presence, shifting focus from thought-based processing to physical sensation. This can be practices such as breath work, yoga, stretching, mobility, somatic movements, and any movements on the ground. This is especially why I always have my yoga mat out and I'm always stretching and rolling around. I swear I start all my days with like a roll around on the floor, and it just makes you feel so good, and it also really helps with lymphatic drainage, which also just makes me feel sexy. Like, I think the opposite of feeling sexy sometimes in my body is like when I feel sluggish, stiff, slow, just like all my bones are cracking. And the opposite of that is like when I feel like my body can flow, when I can move through these yoga cat and cows with ease, and it almost feels like your body is gliding. Embodiment practices also help with mindfulness and mind-body integration through physical and sensory experiences. Also, this is a very personal opinion, but when I feel like I'm stretching often, I feel like I really know what my body feels like. Does that make sense? Like the other day, I was getting off of the plane and I noticed that my ankles were feeling slightly puffier than usual, which is normal if you're spending your day sitting on a plane. But my friend was like, I feel like that's what ankles always feel like. And I was like, that's not what my ankles feel like. And something as simple as that, as like knowing what my body feels like when it feels its best and just feeling it with my hands and being like, oh, this doesn't feel like me, that makes me feel very in control and just like in connection with my own body. Like I know what I'm supposed to feel like, what I look like, and I don't feel disconnected from my body. You can even practice this by walking or doing any sort of like workout class, whether that's spin class or maybe you do a sport, maybe you dance. I feel like pole is very empowering for your feminine energy and just doing dance in general. Even if you don't want to make it so like structured, like putting music on and just dancing around your apartment. I swear last year I just felt so in flow, and one of the things that I was doing on the daily was just dancing around my apartment. Literally in my underwear sometimes, just dancing around like nobody's watching. That made me feel really good. And it was just fun and it felt exciting, and like feeling the music flow through you just feels really good. When you feel comfortable in the way that you move and you can fully inhibit your body without shame, I think it translates into so many things that you do. I also feel like when you practice these embodiment practices, your movements become more fluid and it's noticeable when you're out and about. Like I feel like I can notice when I'm in public when someone is like clumsy and falling all over the place and looks like it is their first day in their body versus someone who is moving with ease and with a sense of calmness and just with a sense of gracefulness and flow. I also feel like when I practice these embodiment practices, I gain a lot of flexibility and I feel more flexible, and that in general just feels really good. This also makes me look better and I feel less inflamed, and I just like feel like my body is more toned and tighter and just like more snatched when I'm in a consistent practice. As for the next way that I embody sexiness and I practice this, I enjoy the art of feeling alive. As I said at the beginning of this episode, to be alive is erotic and erotic is sexy, and they all go hand in hand. Whenever I feel alive, I feel my best. And what does it mean to be alive, you may ask? Well, it's definitely not sleepwalking through your days. It's definitely not doom scrolling. It's definitely not sitting on your phone next to someone. It is definitely not numbing the real life experience or fixing your real life situations with like band-aid fixes. No. Feeling alive to me means to be present, to enjoy the current moment, to not constantly search for more or need more, but to rather be in the now, be where your feet are, literally take your shoes and put your feet in the grass and to feel grounded. It is to make eye contact with someone else, to flirt with someone else, to flirt with the world, to have conversations with whoever you see, to have some playful banter, to be so wrapped up in the moment that you forget that you even have a phone. When we say that, I mean, what are things that make us forget that we have a phone? I mean, whenever you are in a sense of awe, maybe you are hiking, skiing, going on a beautiful walk, seeing a sunset. Maybe it is traveling when you're exploring something new. Maybe it is having a conversation with someone that you never thought you would converse with. Maybe it's hearing a different opinion, being curious, asking questions and hearing answers and perspectives from someone that like you would never cross paths with otherwise. Maybe it is sharing like a very intimate moment with someone else, telling someone your secrets, being vulnerable, having a very honest conversation. Even sometimes in confrontation, it can feel alive. And of course, we don't want to mistake feeling alive with having this like high adrenaline in a bad way, but more in a grounded, soft, calm way. I think sometimes I can definitely be in my head and overanalyze situations and think about situations, and I have to remind myself to pull myself out of that mind thinking brain. As Jaybird, the workout place that I go to, has like a quote on their wall and it says, get out of your mind and into your body. I feel like that's something I constantly have to remind myself, because it is very easy to kind of just go into autopilot mode, and sometimes I'm not really feeling, I'm in fact overriding my sensations to just like move through and get through the day. But like, that's not really feeling alive now, is it? I remember I went to a therapist and she was like, okay, like when you're feeling upset, where does that come up in your body? And I was like, girl, what? Like, I'm overriding my body. I'm just trying to like move to the next thing. And she was like, you really need to sit with your body and like see where that discomfort comes up in your body. Is it a stomach ache? Is it your stomach grumbling? Is it butterflies? Is it tightness in your chest? And even things like that, being able to name the feelings and sensations within you, I feel like makes you feel so alive. You don't feel like a little robot machine just going through their day. You feel like a real human being. And especially right now with AI on the rise, and it's like so easy to even ask ChatGPT, hey, like this is what I'm thinking about. Can you help me think through this? And it's like you're literally just working in your mind's eye. It's like how about we go back to back in the day when that wasn't even a thing and all we had was our intuition and our feelings to guide maybe how we move through the world or how we feel about something or what our first initial instincts and intuition is telling us. How about that? It was a very long-winded way to explain that feeling alive and practicing feeling alive is something that sometimes is a little bit conscious. It's a conscious effort, especially when so many things in today's day and age kind of make you override your body and to kind of numb yourself from feeling into you. But to feel into yourself and to feel alive and to feel this connectedness with yourself and presence will make you feel so good about yourself and your aura will be so magnetic, I am telling you. The next way that you can practice embodying sexiness is by embracing sensuality. I feel like I talk about this all the time on my podcast, but that is sight, scent, touch, hear, and taste. I feel like sometimes when you think about sensuality first, you think about like touching up on your body and being super sensual. And it's like, no, actually, how about we strip it down to its actual definition? And someone being sensual is someone who's actually just in tune with their five senses. Again, this goes hand in hand with feeling alive and to being present in the moment and actually slowing down enough to notice the things around you and the sensations around you. There are many ways that you can practice allowing all of these sensations to be central in your life. And we can talk about a few of the ways that I do for each sense. The first one being scent. A way that I can lean into sensuality through scent is by having candles, by putting eucalyptus up in my shower so that it smells like eucalyptus when I'm showering and when the steam is like radiating off of the shower. Another way is by smelling the roses literally whenever you are like walking down a path of flowers, or whenever I get flowers, I always make sure to smell them and really close my eyes and enjoy that scent. You could even have fun with your own fragrance and scent stack. I feel like that's a big trend these days, but like figuring out what your signature scent is. And something I love doing is like figuring out what my signature scent is, what smells the best on me, and like smelling each perfume and like figuring out the underlying notes, like just being in tune with your senses, maybe even smelling your food before you indulge, or taking note even of other people's scents could be kind of fun. Like if you have a lover, maybe when you are cooking, being more mindful of the spices you are adding to your food. Maybe you have essential oils that you put in a diffuser. Maybe you want to put some like magnesium on before you go to sleep and playing around with like sleepy cream. Anyways, those are a bunch of different ways that you can practice with scent. Also, even when you're just out and about, I think sometimes naming the things around you, like, oh, it just smells like fresh grass, or it smells like fresh flowers, or it smells like pine trees, just makes the experience so much more rich, in my opinion. Another way you can lean into your senses is with sight. For sight, I love making my environment beautiful. I love when my environment feels aesthetic, when it feels cohesive, when honestly everything in my life is cohesive, whether it is color coordinated or just feels matching in pattern. I also love making my space clean and feeling fresh. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if I have a desk beside me and there's dust all on it, I feel a million times better when I can just swipe it with a little towel and it's suddenly just cleaner and nicer to look at. It makes me even want to spend time on that desk. It makes me want to invite someone over. This can also be with your own avatar, with your own physical self. When you look at yourself in the mirror, like, what do you want to see? What do you want to look at? What do you want the reflection of you to look like? For touch, this is a big one. We can focus on literally just like self-touch, whether that is like touching yourself, touching your body when you're putting lotion on. Maybe it is like being more physically touching with the people around you. I know physical touch is like a lot of people's love language, and sometimes you may think of physical touch only in a romantic setting, but even with your friends, you know, like maybe putting your hand on their shoulder, giving them hugs more often, you know, letting your legs lean onto their legs, holding hands, even like, I feel like something very intimate, but like brushing other people's hair, doing other people's hair, offering to give someone a massage, literally just getting a massage, getting your toes done, getting your nails done, even something like being in the sauna kind of feels like a hug around you. And I feel like it really amplifies the sensation of touch when you have kind of like sweat dripping off you and almost enjoying the feeling of sweat. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but like not being so grossed out by it, but kind of feeling into it and feeling like it almost feels like a warm hug on you. I don't know if that's crazy to say, but that's how I feel like when I'm in the sauna. Like just feeling the heat on my skin feels really nice. The next sense that we're going to talk about is hearing. I think you guys know by now, but I'm obsessed with music, and whenever I have playlists to go hand in hand with whatever moment I'm in, it always enhances the experience for me. So I literally have a million playlists for basically everything. One thing I really like doing that I talked about in the last episode when I want to lean into whimsiness and just being a little bit whimsical is like playing like fairy fantasy music whenever I'm reading. So it kind of enhances the experience of that as well. I also love listening to music that is outside of my daily genres. Like, you know, I might like pop or indie, but whenever I listen to like bossa nova or jazz or more instrumental music, that makes me feel very sexy. And I feel like it really just goes hand in hand with maybe me cooking, or me when I'm on a date, or me when I'm crafting with my friends, or me when I'm reading. And the last sense that we have yet to talk about is taste. This is savoring your food, maybe trying different cuisines, really tasting and slowing down when you eat, not just rushing to get it down, but actually enjoying it. I recently went on a date to a blindfolded restaurant, or actually, maybe let me say, it wasn't blindfolded. It was in the dark. I was blind. That's what I meant. It was fully dark, and it was actually like ran by, okay, I could be saying this wrong, but I think it was visually impaired people, blind people, were the servers. So this was their bread and butter, but for everyone else, it was a really cool experience to have a fine dining experience without being able to see your food. And sometimes seeing your food is like half the fun, but being there without having sight to rely on, it really made you rely on all your other senses, such as your hearing, your touch, your taste, your smell. And it made the experience so unique, but it really made you focus on the taste and the texture of your food. Moving on to the next way that you can embody sexiness and radiate this magnetic aura for yourself and for others is practicing presence. Now, I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about feeling alive, but presence is something that I've really focused on over the past year. Again, I talked about it earlier, what presence isn't, and that can be being distracted, that can be having your mind elsewhere, that is being in a conversation with someone and you can't stop looking at the settings around them, or you can't stop like flailing your head around looking to see who you want to talk to next. Presence is just being where you are, being with the person that you're talking to, and like taking the time to really listen, if you're in conversation with someone, to what they are saying, and not just thinking about what you want to say next, but rather, what is this person saying? If I actually am interested, as I should be, what question do I really want to know about this person? What can I know more of? What can I hear more of? What can this person teach me that I don't already know? Sometimes it is so easy for us to take for granted the hangouts that we're in, the friendships that we have, and when you can actually sit in those moments and really be appreciative of it, I feel like your days will go by slower. And I think slowness, again, goes hand in hand with sensuality, with sexiness, with embodiment, with just feeling in flow state, because nobody ever said rushing was sexy. In fact, it might be just the unsexiest thing ever. So anything that you can do, and actually I'm going to put that down as another thing you can do to practice sexiness, is just to slow down a little bit. And that's also something that I feel like I always see on like people's notes, or I don't know, online when people talk about like how to embody feminine energy, they always say like slow down your movements, slow down your tone of voice, slow down your actions. And you know what? I could definitely work on that in my speech. So all in all, practicing presence with both yourself and with others in conversation, or again, in alone time. Whenever I'm traveling by myself and I really get to spend time alone and intentional time alone, whenever I'm like journaling, I feel like I'm really on the same page as my mind and my body. It doesn't feel like my body is moving ahead of me. It doesn't feel like my life experiences are moving faster than I can digest them. It feels like I'm moving right along with everything around me. The next way that you can practice sexiness and embody this aura is by being a little bit more playful and a little bit more carefree. And not only that, but allowing yourself to be seen in that state. I also want to say I just filmed an episode on feeling whimsy and being whimsical, and I feel like this goes hand in hand with that. But I think it is very sexy on somebody else when they seem like they don't have any judgments or walls up, when they don't seem insecure. Maybe they are, but maybe they've actively been working to get past that. But like when they seem very comfortable with who they are, very comfortable feeling seen, very comfortable dancing like nobody is watching, or just like laughing like nobody is watching, that in itself is hot. I think that this is an ongoing practice for a lot of people, for myself included. I think sometimes insecurities can get the best of us, especially when you are being watched. I think sometimes we tend to downplay our natural expressions or how we want to act just due to societal standards or like societal expectations. But when you can strip away those judgments and fear, and you're just left with with your own playful, authentic self, if you're able to be that self all the time, trust me, your authenticity will radiate outwards, and authenticity is like the highest frequency ever. So you will just be radiating and magnetizing whoever gets to walk near you. You know, if you are walking one day and your hair gets wet, instead of feeling anxious that your hair is going to be frizzy and puffy and curly, leaning into that and like allowing it to be funny, to be playful. Maybe you are having banter with someone else, you're kind of flirting with someone else. Instead of being so rigid and thinking like, what am I getting out of this conversation? What is the point of this conversation? But rather flirting with life, flirting with the other person, and flirting for the sake of having fun banter, just like playing with words, playing with your own avatar that is yourself, playing with what the situation can be. I think that is sexy. I think that is fun. And that makes me feel very present. That was also something that my friend 𝘈 wrote about in her letter. And I'm going to reference it right now. But she talks about how flirting does not limit itself to the goal of sexual and romantic relations. She says it doesn't need a real goal at all. It can be simply flirting to flirt, to enjoy that exchange. She says that flirting is energy, being alive, noticing, curiosity, listening, responding, playing. It's humans being fully engaged, sharing a little dance together of energy. I mean, a little dance together of energy, I don't think I could say it better myself. Since this goes hand in hand with the episode so well, I'm just going to continue reading this, but she writes that many of us don't flirt enough. We only deem it necessary when the interaction seems of value, of obtaining a particular outcome, but we should take that playfulness and engagement that we use with someone we are attracted to into every part of life. She says flirt with your friends, flirt with strangers, flirt with life, and of course, flirt with yourself. And she ends it off with saying that being playful is not taken advantage of enough. So I hope that inspires you also to feel more playful, to flirt with life, to flirt with whoever, and not just think like, what am I getting out of this? Because that ain't sexy. Transactional flirtation, that ain't sexy. And also not being able to flirt, not being able to keep up with banter, and not being able to just have a fun conversation, I don't think is screaming sexy. It's not screaming, I'm alive and I can do whatever I want and I have free will. I've talked about it enough, but someone that I feel like really embodies this energy is Addison Rae. And also, since we're on this topic of feeling alive and flirting and playfulness, I made an episode called Alive Girl Summer that I posted in the summer, obviously. And that episode talks about all of these themes we're talking about. And if you want to hear more about that, definitely go and listen to that episode because that was what the whole theme of this was. Something I want to mention, if you guys are watching the podcast on video, is that it is kind of getting dark as I'm filming this. I hope that you guys don't mind. I literally still have so much to talk about, and I know this episode is going to be long, but I'm having so much fun. So just a little quick check-in with you guys. I hope you are enjoying this episode. I hope you're having fun as much as I am, and let's continue on. The next way that I embody sexiness and that I practice this sexiness with myself and this relationship with myself is by taking care of my mind, body, and spirit and feeling good in my body. When I take care of myself, everything else feels effortless. When I feel good in my skin, when I feel good in the way that I treat myself, whether that's my mind and I'm saying nice affirmations to myself, I'm speaking myself with kindness, I'm feeding my brain good, interesting material that makes me more interesting to talk to, that makes me have more to say and feel like I have more depth and more substance. When I'm taking care of my physical body, my avatar, and I'm, getting my hair done, getting my nails done, my toes done, getting my tan. You don't have to go spend your money, but like doing your makeup at home, doing a face mask at home, literally massaging my body with cream, shaving my body. That all makes me feel very sexy, and it makes me feel like I can go out into the world with even less barriers. I think when you treat yourself with respect and you treat yourself with this high standard, it's so obvious to other people, and other people will have to treat you that exact same way. They cannot treat you less than how you are treating yourself. And also, when you raise the standard for how you want to be treated by yourself, you will not allow yourself to be treated any less by anyone else. You will not tolerate disrespect or just not adequate respect. It's like, how are you going to treat me worse than I'm treating myself? And when I feel good and I feel sexy, that just I think commands a certain type of attention, a certain type of actions towards you. And I think your dream life comes with you when you are treating yourself like the person that deserves those dreams. Some of the other things I like to do is focusing on a good diet and good digestion. I think that makes me feel great, and it shows up in your skin and in the way that your face looks. I also like smelling good. I like drinking a lot of water so that I feel hydrated and I don't just worry about the outside version of myself, but my internal body as well. I like stretching, walking, yoga, weightlifting. I love when I feel strong and when I feel proud of the way that my body looks. I love reading, journaling, feeling connected to myself, feeling flexible, basically a bunch of different hobbies that make me feel creative and that makes my mind feel sharp and like I can keep up. And not only keep up, but set the tone sometimes. I also love when my outfits feel fresh and new and unique, and when I can express myself through the way that I dress and the pieces that I'm wearing actually fit my body well and they feel like they're mine. I feel like when I wear something of someone else's and it's like not my style or not my aesthetic, sometimes it doesn't feel like me, versus when I wear something that either feels super like me or feels like the person that I want to be, suddenly you kind of transform into the energy of that person. And I think that's why sometimes people say, like, if you want to manifest a certain lifestyle, start wearing the clothes of that certain lifestyle, because you'll kind of rise to the occasion. You'll rise to that vibration. It's like, how am I going to want to be this like baddie businesswoman and I'm just lounging around in sweats all the time? Like, that's not really giving the energy of the life that I want. And when I feel my best, I look my best, I emit this sexy, beautiful, wonderful, magnetic aura. I also want to say, putting this in here since we're talking about dressing up our avatar and kind of sexiness, is like, if lingerie makes you feel good, if you feel good wearing a matching set, so be it. Do it. I am an advocate for that. I love getting little slip dresses from the thrift store, from vintage stores, and, you know, wearing cute pajamas to go to bed. Even if no one is looking at it, even if it is just for you, it feels so nice and fun and playful and feminine and cute, and like you're in a 90s rom-com movie to wear a little matching set. And it's kind of like a little secret for you, and no one else has to even see it. I actually wrote down slowing down, not rushing, and having no agenda as the next thing, but we already talked about that. So the thing I wrote after that was asking for help and outsourcing to reduce stress. I think, again, the opposite of sexiness is rushing. The opposite of sexiness is stress. And I myself might be somebody who could be stressed a lot of the time. I feel like I have a high tolerance for stress, and sometimes that in itself gives me kind of permission to take on more stress. But it's like, girl, it is not sexy to be stressed all the time. And if you can ask for help, ask for help. The people want to help you. People want to make your life easier, and you don't have to make your life harder just to say that you can. So definitely ask for help. Ask for help if you need it. And any way that you can reduce stress will make you feel a lot more connected to yourself and will allow you to emit a better vibe, because your vibe will be up. Your vibrations will be extremely high. Some other ways that you can reduce stress is by healing your nervous system and regulating your nervous system. I did not realize how much a regulated nervous system would change the game for me. I remember a few years ago, I was so burnt out and I thought it was a flex that I was working so hard, but like, girl, your hair's falling out, you got acne on your face, you're gaining weight, you're just so stressed all the time. Nothing about that screams sexy. The minute your nervous system is healed, you're in a better environment, you feel safer around you, you feel safer with the people that you're hanging out with, suddenly everything just seems to make sense, and suddenly you feel like slowing down. You don't need to chase, you don't need to prove. Suddenly everything is just flowing a lot easier, and guess who's radiating a sexy aura? It will be you. I will make a whole episode on regulating your nervous system if that is something that you guys want, but definitely look into that if you feel like, as I'm saying this, I am talking to you. Find ways and find people that make you feel calm, peaceful, and regulated. The next thing I wrote down was more delights, more pleasure, more creativity, more self-expression, and more desires. I don't know why, but all of those seem hand in hand for me, and they seem like very fun things that I want. You know, I was making a list of all the things that make me feel sexy, and I highly encourage you to do this as well, but I would do that all the time in my journal. Like, what really makes me feel sexy? What are really my desires? And a lot of them come down to like having fun and feeling creative and having this sense of like self-expression and these platforms to self-express on. And so I think if you can figure out what your list looks like and really like taking a little life audit and like looking at that, I think that'll give you some more cues to what you should be doing for yourself, because as I said, everyone has their own little recipe for success. But you know, some of my recent delights or things that have been giving me pleasure and making me feel good are having slower mornings where I can take the time to do my self-care, to have a little morning coffee or walk to a coffee shop, to do a workout, to have a little yoga practice, to, you know, make my breakfast. Another delight could be wearing cotton clothing, just clothes that feels good on my body and that isn't tight or restricting or irritating. Another delight is sharing more. I don't know if that one's kind of random to put on here, but honestly, feeling generous and feeling able to provide for people and to give to other people and to give back feels very good. Also, even having routine and discipline and getting things done feels good. I think it gives me a lot of satisfaction and like pleasure when I finally do the things that I say I'm going to do. When you complete a creative project or when you set goals out at the beginning of the month and they actually get done, I think like there's no better feeling than that. And the last thing we are going to talk about, since I feel like we've been talking forever and it's literally getting dark as I film this, is how you carry yourself. even when we don't feel sexy internally or we don't feel as confident internally, if you can fake it till you make it, you will look sexier and in turn probably feel sexier. I mean, sometimes we have to just kind of act the part and your body will catch up. By this, I mean having open body language, moving with gracefulness and confidence, flirting with life, flirting with others, smiling, feeling light, embodying and inhibiting yourself without shame, working on your self-esteem, or even indulging publicly. So like laying in the park or smelling the flowers or eating your favorite food and closing your eyes and just like enjoying things. All of those kind of behaviors or like ways that you act will give off this confident aura around you. And I think those things make you feel good, therefore will make you look good. I saw this quote and it really stuck with me. And it was saying that everybody is sexy and yet no one is erotic. And to me, that means everyone is sexy, as in everybody has Instagram face, everyone does the push-up bra, everyone face tunes, everyone smooths out their skin in their photos, everyone is like cosplaying sexy, but it's like, it's all fake. None of it is real. And when you can be real, when you can be alive, when you can be present, when you can inhibit yourself, what do we say? That is all erotic. Erotic is sexier than quote unquote sexy that is fake and that is copied. Like, it's not being perfect. It is not being a mold that someone wants you to be. It is not performing. Absolutely not. Being sexy, being erotic, feeling alive, feeling into yourself is allowing yourself to be messy, allowing yourself to be imperfect, and to be okay with that, to feel confident in that, to feel sure of yourself in that, and to not care about what anyone else has to say. And as long as it feels good to you, it makes sense to you, that is all that matters. Following your desires and seeing where that leads you. That's all I have to say. I hope this episode inspired you and you feel like you gotta go be alive right now. Like, you gotta turn this podcast episode off right now and go do something, go connect with someone, go flirt with someone, go walk the walk and feel confident and play with life, because that is what we're here for. We have free will. Sometimes, like, after this episode is done, I'm like, why do I want to go to the bar, wear something sexy, feel good, walk through that place like I own it, go make some conversations, sweat like nobody's watching, dance like nobody's watching, indulge in some food, indulge in a drink, and live my life like today is the only thing that matters, because it literally is. Anyways, I've been yapping for so long. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I love you, and I will see you very soon. Stay sexy and flirt with life a little bit more.